we're going to be going over basically 4 ways to use OBS, Open Broadcaster software, and just kind of give a demonstration. This isn't like going to be a training session. It's going to be a demonstration session so you can see its features and capabilities so you can determine if you want to pursue using it. And if so, you can reach out to a digital learning coordinator in your area and arrange for us to support you in that. We also have some resources that'll get you up and running and started with OBS. And what we'd like you to do as we go through this demonstration is to reflect on how OBS can be used in your practice. So think of its implications. I have some samples for you, but you may come up with some other ways and ideas of how to use it. So let's go ahead and take a look here at live instruction with OBS. It's a software that you can download and use on your Wake County issued laptop. It's in the Digital Resource Product Library, staff only. And there's 4 different ways to use it. Live instruction is one way. And you can also use it for screencasting. You can use it for pre-recorded content, such as like live events or a live news broadcast, and record it and then distribute that video to your audience later. Or you can actually live stream an event or a news program or really anything you want to broadcast. Now down here are all its capabilities and features for each use. Instead of reading through this and discussing it, we're going to actually demonstrate these features. Live instruction is going to be probably the easiest way to use OBS and what I would think will probably be the most frequently used by teachers, whether you're a virtual academy teacher or hybrid or whenever you're doing any kind of live instruction. You can connect OBS like I am to a Google Meet meeting and use all the capabilities of OBS in a Google Meet meeting. And one thing about screencasting is right now I am recording this session, but I'm not recording any of you. So it's not like recording a Google Meet with Google Meet. You can protect the privacy of your audience by not including it because all that's being recorded is the content. So what that means is that you can actually be teaching live instruction, recording your live instruction as you teach it, and at the same time you're making a screencast video. Or you could simply just use it for screencasting. Let's look at this a different way. Let's go ahead and jump into live instruction and some of the features. You can have multiple layouts, multiple scenes, kind of like having slides, multiple camera angles. Use your webcam or even other cameras if you so choose. You can bring in videos, web content, and graphics. It's very customizable, and you can use green screen like I'm using now. Let's look at the teacher setup. So we're looking at using your Wake County issued laptop. I'm running OBS on my laptop, and I'm in a school Wi-Fi environment, and everything seems to be playing fine on my end. And you can technically use OBS with one computer, but it's going to be kind of clunky. Really, you'd want that second monitor. Let me go ahead and show you my setup. So here I have my second monitor, which I'm using to see all of you and watch my Google Meet and watch the chat and things of that nature. I have my Wake County issued laptop that's running OBS, and everything's running smooth and fine on that. I have an external microphone just to enhance my audio a little bit. I have a green screen behind me and 2 really cheap USB lights that I use to kind of help light up the green screen. Now, looking here at OBS, what you do is when you go to a Google Meet meeting, instead of choosing your webcam, you choose OBS as your camera. And when you do that, everything you present in OBS is displayed. So your camera, your webcam is displayed. The graphics that you'll pull up, like this arrow, will be displayed. You can bring in video. Now your video in a live instruction won't have audio because your audio is coming from your mic. When you're screencasting though, we'll talk about that in a moment, you can bring in audio as well. And of course, here's my presentation, what you're seeing now, and you can bring in web content. And all of this is what your students will then see. Let's kind of look at a couple of samples here. So this is what I call my full camera. It's a different scene. And what I like about this is that when you're in a Google Meet meeting and you present, you lose that camera. The students love seeing you. They enjoy seeing your facial expressions and body language. And when you go and you get into your presentation, your little camera shrinks down really small, but you can have a full camera and then flip back to your presentation. You can turn that camera off. You can turn that camera on. You can come back to your full camera. And you can also incorporate graphics. So for example, instead of me having a slide that has my learning outcomes on it, I can just do an over the shoulder here of my learning outcomes at the beginning of my lesson, and then I can easily just turn that off. Or maybe you have some sort of other graphic you want to pull in and reference that graphic. Instead of taking up a whole slide, keep yourself full screen and your graphic over your shoulder. Or maybe you want to bring in some lower thirds with some school branding or your name or whatever it might be. Or maybe just pop a simple logo or even a countdown timer. So we're going to engage in an activity. You want to start a timer for your students. So again, this is all about leveling up. And as you're seeing all this, be thinking of ways OBS could be used in your practice to help engage your students. You can use images as backgrounds. You can also bring in video as backgrounds into your Google Meet meetings. Let's look at some other combinations. Here is my webcam in a presentation versus here's my webcam next to my presentation. So if you don't want your webcam to cover up content in your presentation, you could shrink it down a little bit and put it on the side. And here's another one where I've kind of added some video into my presentation. Now, what I'm using to create my graphics is Canva and Adobe Spark. Canva is staff only. And if you're familiar with Canva at all, you may have noticed there's some premium content in there. If you apply for the Canva for Education account, then they give you all the premium content for free. So that's how I was able to get video in a slide in this particular one. So really, you can be as creative as you want to, and you can create different layouts and designs and scenes, and really just kind of think of different ways to make your presentation a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. Let's look at some web content. Let me go ahead and pop this over here for you, this calculator. Now, when we are in a Google Meet meeting and we present web content, we see the browser tabs at the top. And that could be maybe distracting for students. So what you can do in OBS is you can actually crop that out. So that way students can just see the content you want them to focus on and not have anything that might distract them, right? I did mention green screen. So if you want to have a little bit of fun with green screen and have, different backgrounds and effects and things like that, you're welcome to go ahead and have some fun with green screen. I personally don't use green screen. I just have my webcam on, but for this demonstration, I'm using it so you can see its capabilities. Let's look at screencasting. So screencasting, everything is going to be the same as far as your setup that we discussed earlier. All the features are the same. We just have this additional record feature. So maybe you're using a screencasting software and maybe you want to add some more features to your screencast videos, such as the customization you get with OBS and some of the other features I've demonstrated so far. You don't have to worry about a recording limit or watermark, that type of thing. But what I really like the implication is still using Google Meet Meeting and live instruction. And I was a middle school teacher for a number of years, so I'm used to having 4 classes. And so I would think that, if I was teaching my first period class, so to say, that I would record the content of that class. Again, the students aren't in the recording at all. It's just what you see. If your students were to talk, your mic would probably pick up their voice. So I would probably have some headphones if my students were going to talk, so it wouldn't pick up their voice, or you can just push pause. But my point is the content section of your lesson, if you record that section, then you've captured your lesson and your video is instantly available. And you can just quickly upload that to Drive or YouTube. And then by the next class period, you can provide them with the actual recording of the lesson if they need to refer to it. Or those students that were absent that didn't capture your lesson would be able to then see your content. So just another implication there of using the record feature. Or you can just simply record with OBS and not involve the live meet. And you end up with a video that you can then distribute to your students the way you see fit. Now, you may be starting to kind of think about OBS and maybe what it looks like. And let me go ahead and show you behind the scenes of what OBS looks like.
While Chris is transitioning, just a reminder that the link to the presentation is in the chat. If you have any questions, go to the symbol with the triangle, square, and circle next to the chat icon and add your question if it's new. If there's a question showing that looks like something you wanted to ask, just give it a thumbs up and we will hit the questions with the most thumbs up. And I noticed there is one question over there now. Thank you.
Now, maybe you're feeling a little bit like this right now. It's okay. It's a lot to take in. If you think of this interface of OBS as a Google Slides, right? Well, right here is what the students see. They don't see anything else. They just see what you're presenting. On the left here where it says scenes, I think of these as slides. Let's just call these slides for the sake of getting the concept understood. And on a slide, it says sources, right? That's the content on it. So for example, on this countdown slide or timer, right? I have some bling I can pop up, a little animated GIF I can pop in there and I can turn that off. I have some text that I laid on there. I can turn that on and off. And of course I have my emoji I can turn on and off. And you just bring in whatever you want to be on that slide or that scene. So for example, my full camera, all I did really here was bring in graphics and turn them on and off. Now, I have an excessive amount of sources and scenes. You would probably have maybe one or two scenes. Maybe you have an intro scene. Maybe you have your presentation scene, and that's it. And maybe you have a camera and a couple of graphics. So don't think that your presentation is going to be as complicated as this. This is because I'm demonstrating it, and I wanted to show you a bunch of samples. So yours can be fairly minimal, so to say. And of course, we always start off small with things. But again, just be thinking of its implications. And over here is your start record button. You just hit that and your screencasting or recording. Here's start virtual camera. That's how you connect it to Google Meet. So that's a little bit of the behind the scenes of OBS. Let's come back to our presentation. And let's look now at the broadcasting side of OBS. So we have here cameras and microphones. So a wide variety of cameras and microphones, multiple, right? For your news reporters or a graduation ceremony or something of that nature. Student-led productions. So we want our productions to be student-led. And again, we said OBS is staff only. Well, in this situation, OBS is just being run by the teacher to like hit record or switch scenes. The students are doing everything else. They're scripting, they're doing the graphics, they're doing the videos, the editing, they're the reporters. The teacher just kind of runs the behind the scenes aspect of OBS. You can have multiple layouts and scenes, videos, web graphics, customizable, green screen. And of course, you can record this. So students can do a live broadcast and you record it and then distribute it later. So the setup for this is I've thrown in an extra monitor. We do go out to schools and do demonstrations. We test your Wi-Fi, set up cameras, visually show you what it all looks like. And in that scenario, we have 3 monitors, one to see the switcher, which I'll show you here in a minute, one that's running OBS, your laptop, and another external monitor to actually like see the script or the outline, that kind of thing. OBS is running everything, and we have what we call this hub. This hub is where all the cameras and microphones plug into, and that hub plugs into your computer. So you can have, you know, three cameras, 3 microphones, whatever your setup is. And then you can pipe in audio, music, you can have graphics, videos, pre-recorded videos, presentation content, web content, all that, and then produce your video that you then distribute to your audience. And really the difference between live broadcasting and live streaming is just the addition of streaming to YouTube. Let me shrink down a little bit so you can see that stream to YouTube is really the only difference. And so all the peripherals, everything's set up the same. You just hit start streaming to your YouTube account. Now you would need a landline to be able to run that. I've tested it in multiple schools in the Wi-Fi alone, especially when you're streaming pre-recorded video, would need a landline. And we've tested that and it's worked fine in the school setting. Let's look at this a different way. Let me go ahead and pop this open for you here. And let's look at this demonstration here. This here is kind of a 3D model of what I mentioned in that diagram. Here's the teacher desk, and you have your desktop, or excuse me, your laptop in the middle, your Wake County issued laptop running OBS. You have one monitor, which is running your outline or your notes, your script, that kind of thing. And another one that is your switcher. So let's look at what a switcher looks like. This is what the switcher looks like. And basically on the top right here is what your audience sees. And whatever you click on is what shows up. So I can click on different sources, camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, or web content, or pre-recorded video, or music, or whatever it may be. And that's what will be piped out to your audience. So that's what that third monitor really is for. And right here is this hub. And we have the hub is what is receiving all the cameras and microphones. Right over here, we have one student that has a Chromebook in front of them as their teleprompter, and as a webcam, an external webcam on top of the Chromebook that's plugged into the hub, an external microphone to pick up the audio. And this is kind of set up kind of like a YouTuber style with a green screen in the background. We got a couple of lights on the green screen, and then of course you can have any background you want. And then the teacher clicks on the switcher and comes over to your student news desk 2. And they have the same setup. They have a Chromebook as a teleprompter, a web camera on top of the Chromebook that's plugged into the hub, a mic plugged into the hub, and maybe a different background, maybe more like a set, that type of thing. And then we have this third camera, which could be a webcam on a tripod, or maybe like a DSLR camera to boost your capabilities, and to have a camera that you can use to go out into the field in the school and shoot footage and bring it back for editing. But maybe this is a teacher that pops in, or another student that pops in, and so maybe a third camera. So this is kind of our setup for coming out and doing demonstrations. That's just one way of doing it, where we're actually communicating with a lot of schools on the ways that they do news broadcasts. We've been speaking to high schools and elementary schools and finding out what else is everyone doing. Some schools are using Flipgrid. The students record all their segments on Flipgrid. Then a student or the teacher edits all those together, puts a title on it, and then sends it out through Google Drive or maybe even YouTube. Some are using MATV systems. So there's a wide variety of ways to do it. This is just a sample of just one way to use OBS to record a broadcast. Now, what we're going to do here is give you an opportunity to think about OBS and its implications, the ways that it can be used maybe in instruction. And we have the digital learning coordinators in your area would be able to field requests for support. In our slideshow presentation, we do have a link to some videos, some tutorial videos that'll walk you through installing OBS. Whoops, I lost my green screen there for a second. Installing OBS, actually looking at the interface, giving you a tour of what everything is, walking you through, just creating a scene and adding a source to the scene, connecting your OBS, excuse me, I drew a blank there, your presentation to Google Meet, how to do that, how to live stream. So be looking for that link there. And at this time, we actually ended a couple minutes early. I know some of you have to go. We have a feedback form, but I'm going to turn it back over to Juliet and see if we have any questions or if you thought of any ideas of ways OBS can be used to enhance live instruction or other ways you could use it.